We lie to ourselves. We look at our dog who is vibrating with energy at the door, and we say, "He's so happy." We look at our cat who is sitting perfectly still on the sofa, and we say, "She's so content." But are they? Or are we just projecting our own human definition of happiness onto a species that speaks a completely different language? The problem with the way we look at pets is that we look for compliance. We think a good dog is a happy dog. We think a quiet cat is a satisfied cat. But psychology, specifically the branch of comparative psychology that studies animal minds, tells us something different. It tells us that what we think is happiness is often just coping. A wagging tail can mean anxiety. A purr can be a self-soothing mechanism for pain. A quiet animal might not be calm. They might be shut down. So, if we can't trust the obvious signs, what can we trust? How do you know, scientifically, that the creature living in your house is actually enjoying its existence and not just surviving it? The answer isn't in how much they cuddle you. It isn't in how many treats they eat. It is a psychological concept that defines the difference between a prisoner and a partner. It is called agency. Today, we are going to look at the real signs of animal happiness and why the most annoying things they do might actually be the healthiest. Let's start with dinner time. You put the bowl down. It's full of expensive, high-quality food. Your dog eats it in 30 seconds. Your cat grazes on it all day. You think you are being a good provider and giving them the good life. But in the 1960s, a psychologist named Glenn Jensen discovered something that broke the rules of logic. He put rats in a cage with two options. Option A, a bowl of free food. Option B, a lever they had to press to earn a pellet of food. Logic says the animal should take the free meal. Why work if you don't have to? But the rats ignored the free bowl. They pressed the lever. Over and over again, they chose to work. This phenomenon is called contra-freeloading, and it has been replicated in dogs, cats, bears, monkeys, and birds. Because animals are not designed to just consume. They are designed to seek. In the wild, the satisfaction doesn't come from the belly being full. It comes from the problem-solving required to fill it. The stalk, the sniff, the chase, the puzzle. When you put a bowl of food on the floor, you are robbing them of their primary psychological drive. You're giving them the paycheck without the job. A happy pet engages in the hunt. Does your dog love puzzle toys? Do they throw their kibble around? Does your cat ignore the bowl but hunt a moth for 3 hours? This is a sign of a psychologically engaged mind. If you want to make them happier, stop giving them free food. Hide it. Put it in a snuffle mat. Make them use their nose. Happiness for a predator is not a full stomach. It is a busy brain. This leads us to the walk. Most people think the walk is for the bladder or the muscles. You walk fast. You pull the leash when they stop. You say, "Come on, let's go. I have work to do." You are treating the walk like a gym session. But the neuroscientist Jaak Panksepp identified 7 primary emotional systems in the mammalian brain. And the most powerful one, the one that lights up the brain more than almost anything else, is the seeking system. This is the dopamine circuit, but it's not the dopamine of getting the reward. It's the dopamine of anticipating it. It is the urge to investigate, to sniff, to explore the unknown. For a dog, the nose is their eyes. They see the world and smell. A tree trunk isn't just wood. It is a newspaper. It tells them who was here, what they ate, how healthy they are, and how long ago they left. When you yank your dog away from a sniff, you are essentially blindfolding them and dragging them down the street. You are denying their seeking system. A happy dog sniffs. They are curious. They stop, they investigate. They don't just march forward in a straight line. They tack back and forth like a boat against the wind. If your dog is checking things out, their seeking system is online. They are getting a dopamine hit with every inhalation. If your dog just trudges beside you, head down, ignoring the world, that is not a good walker. That is a bored animal. A happy walk is a slow walk. It's 20 minutes of sniffing one block, not 20 minutes of sprinting 3 miles. Now we have to talk about the good boy trick. You know the one. The dog that never barks. The cat that never scratches. The pet that sits in the corner and waits for you to move. We praise this. We say, he's so well behaved. But psychology warns us about a state called learned helplessness. This was discovered by Martin Seligman. He found that if an animal is exposed to stress that they cannot control, if they are punished randomly, or if they have no way to escape a bad situation, they eventually just give up. They stop trying. They stop reacting. They go still. They learn that their choices don't matter, so they stop making choices. And many of the so-called perfect pets we see on social media, the ones who let people dress them up, the ones who sit frozen while a child pulls their ears, are not calm. They are shut down. They have learned that they have no voice, so they have stopped speaking. A happy pet has opinions. Does your dog nudge your hand when you stop petting him? Does your cat walk away when she's done with you? Does your dog groan when you tell him to get off the sofa? Good. That is not disobedience. That is a sign that they feel safe enough to express a preference. A happy animal knows that their behavior affects their world. They know that if they nudge you, they get love. They know that if they walk away, they get space. They have not learned to be helpless. They have learned to be effective. Beware the pet that never asks for anything. Silence is not always peace. Sometimes it is resignation. This brings us to the most controversial sign of happiness: rejection. We buy a pet because we want unconditional love. We want a cuddle machine. So when our cat hisses or our dog growls, we get offended. We punish them. We say, "Don't be mean." But in the world of animal psychology, the ability to say no is the foundation of sanity. Imagine if you were locked in a house with a giant who touched you whenever they wanted, picked you up whenever they wanted, and you had no way to stop them. You would be terrified. You would be constantly on edge. A happy pet is a pet that knows its boundaries will be respected. A happy pet uses low-level warning signals because they know they work. If your cat flicks her tail, a sign of irritation, and you stop touching her, she learns she is safe. She doesn't have to bite you. She just has to flick her tail. If your dog turns his head away, a sign of discomfort, and you back off, he learns he is safe. He doesn't have to growl. The happiest animals are the ones who don't need to be aggressive because their subtle signals are heard. If you have a relationship where your pet can walk away from you and you let them, that is a high-trust relationship. You're giving them bodily autonomy, and there is no greater gift you can give a smaller creature than the right to control its own body. Finally, let's look at the bad day. Just like humans, animals experience trigger stacking. Imagine your day. Your alarm doesn't go off. Then you spill coffee. Then the traffic is bad. Then your boss yells at you. Finally, you come home and your partner asks, "What's for dinner?" And you snap. You scream. That is trigger stacking. One small thing wasn't the problem. The accumulation was the problem. Pets live in a world of triggers. The mailman, the loud truck, the vacuum cleaner, the weird smell, the vet visit. Cortisol, stress hormone, takes days to leave the body. If your dog has a scary encounter on Monday, his cortisol is still high on Tuesday. If something else happens on Tuesday, it stacks. By Friday, he bites. And you say, it came out of nowhere. It didn't. It came from a week of unresolved stress. A happy pet is given time to decompress. This is a concept called cortisol holidays. If your dog is reactive or your cat is skittish, a happy life involves days where nothing happens. No walks in busy areas, no guests, no vacuuming, just quiet, just sniffing, just chewing. Chewing and licking are natural, self-soothing behaviors. They release endorphins that lower heart rate. If your dog spends an hour chewing a bone, or your cat spends an hour grooming in the sun, they are actively managing their own stress levels. A happy pet isn't a pet that is constantly excited. It is a pet that knows how to come down from the high. And if you want to know the specific signs that your pet is happy, I will mention some of the most obvious ones for dogs and cats separately, because sometimes we miss the forest for the trees. We look for grand gestures, but happiness usually lives in the micro movements of the body. For the dog, look for liquid. A stressed dog is stiff. Their movements are jerky. Their muscles are hard. A happy dog is loose. They are fluid. Look for the full body wiggle. A wagging tail can be a warning, but if the wiggle starts at the shoulders and goes all the way to the tail, that is pure joy. Look for the play bow. This is when they drop their elbows to the floor but keep their rear end in the air. This is the universal biological language indicating that everything happening next is a game. And listen for the play sneeze. If you are wrestling with your dog and they sneeze, they are not sick. They are signaling you. It clarifies that the growling and biting is merely play. It is a check-in to ensure you are still having fun. For the cat, look for trust. Cats are both predators and prey. For a prey animal, closing your eyes is a death sentence, so look for the slow blink. If your cat looks at you and slowly closes their eyes, then opens them again, do not look away. Do it back. This is an eye kiss. It indicates a deep sense of security and a lowering of defenses. Look for the question mark tail. A tail that is straight up in the air with a little hook at the end is a flag of friendship. It communicates that they are happy to see you. And look for the head bunt. When they rub their face against your hand or your shin, they are not just scratching an itch. They have scent glands on their face. They are marking you. It is a way of claiming you as their own. So, look at your pet again. Don't look for the human version of happiness. Don't look for the smile. Look for the agency. Are they making choices? Are they allowed to sniff the ugly tree for 5 minutes? Are they allowed to walk away from you when they are tired?